Greetings fellow members of the Esoteric Order of Gamers. I've got something a little bit different for you today. It's called Moonstone. It's a tabletop miniatures game by Goblin King Games. Now, I've never heard of this game before, and I've never heard of Goblin King Games, but they sent me an email and said they'd like to send this to me to check out and tell you about. And it sounds interesting. I haven't played it yet, but I'm going to go through opening this box and showing you what's inside, and you might be interested yourself. Now, they have a new Kickstarter coming up on the 5th of June. It's a new expansion book and some new miniatures. So, if you're interested in Moonstone, check out that Kickstarter. Their website is moonstonethegame.com. All one word, moonstonethegame.com. Let's have a look. Now, this is, as I said, a tabletop miniatures game. It's got 8 miniatures inside the box. And the theme of this is kind of quirky fairy tale characters. There's kind of gnomes and goblins and, weird looking things. I don't know, it reminds me a little bit of the Labyrinth, Jim Henson kind of feel. You can see by these kind of characters. And it looks kind of fun. So let's check it out. And I do appreciate this compact little box. And inside, what have we got? All this stuff. First, we've got a little rule book. And I'm happy to see that the rules are quite short. The text is quite small, but the rules are quite short. It's a skirmish game. Apparently, it's got a bit of a sense of humour, a bit of a tongue-in-cheek sense of humour, that I'm being told. There's also a spell system that involves bluffing. And the melee system involves attack and defence cards, which they think represents, the back and forth of a real fight. The gameplay is also focused on objectives, not just killing. So that gives you the spiel, but, what do you get? Well, there's a deck of cards here, as you can see. Let's have a look. What have we got? Catastrophe cards. 1, 3. Okay, interesting. Oh, here we go. So here's our different melee type of cards. High guard, fallen, swing, thrust. So it's the different types of melee actions you can take. These must be spells. Okay. Clumsiness of cowards. Once per game. What does that do? Target model who is within 8 inches of their starting table loses possession of all moonstones they are carrying. Now, this apostrophe here must be eradicated immediately, but I'll forgive them that. It's a small company. Dawnlight robbery. Okay, interesting. Oops. Here's the backs of the cards. Like that picture there on the back of the melee cards. That's lovely. And these are arcane, so these must be spells. I like the style of these. This illustration is beautiful. Okay, so I'm not sure how these work, but I haven't played yet and I haven't read the rules, so it's all new to me. We've got some dice, and strangely enough, a pack of 4-sided dice, which is really weird. Now, I was talking with Mike Hutchinson of Gaslands the other day, and he was telling me his dislike of the 4-sided dice, and it's really interesting to see that there's so many in here, because it's not used very often, is it, the D4 dice? As he said, you roll it and it goes plonk. And just sort of sits there. But, it's a dice. Maybe it needs a little bit more love. And it looks like Moonstone is giving it to it. This is lovely to see. A little movement template. Isn't this great? 3 inches, 2 inches, 4 inches, 1 inch. I just think this is great. You don't see many games with nice little movement templates like this. Usually it's a long stick or something. But this gives you all those measurements and you have to use a tape measure. So I really like that. We've got these strange little counters, and they're like acrylic counters, just plain ones. Don't know what they're used for. Some more cards in a bag here. Okay, Spank, upgrade for sweeping cut, tactical retreat. That's interesting. You'll regret that. Ankle biter, take your medicine. You can see the sense of humour. Groin tickler. Insatiable hunger. So, oh look, these look like some of our, maybe these are our miniatures. Here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Of course, they're our miniature cards, and they're in 2 different factions. So there's a picture in the background which identifies it. There we go. So here are our characters. Let's talk about them. Grub, a goblin wizard. The vicious midget, a goblin soldier. Beaky Bobby, goblin wizard. And Doug the flatulent, a goblin soldier animal. And then on the other side we've got Eric the squire, a human soldier. Baron von Fancy Hat, a human noble. Flintlock, a human soldier. And Friar Flavius, a human cleric. Well, this really does remind me of the whole Jim Henson thing, doesn't it? We've got some bases. And then we've got a little box here, and these are our miniatures, our little resin miniatures. And these look rather nice, don't they? Very detailed. Multi-part miniatures. That looks great. That's probably our friar. Oh, these look lovely. That's a very weird looking thing. I don't know what that is. This one's got quite a few parts. And this one. So, okay, that's Baron von Fancy Hat. I'm going to put these miniatures together so you can see what they look like in the flesh. I'll be back in a moment. Well, let me show you the finished miniatures, and I have to say I'm super impressed with these. They were very, very clean resin casts, and they fit together really easily and simply, and even little detailed things like that dagger in there, that was a separate piece, but it very easily went into its place. And you can see lovely details like how the cloak is lifted a bit where the dagger sheath is. Very nicely sculpted. This one is from the Goblin faction and it's called Beaky Bobby. This one is the Vicious Midget. This wonderful looking character is Doug the Flatulent. Hi Doug, look at that banner. Fantastic little figure. Look, he's sitting on a pug. And a lot of character there. I think that's a stunning figure. And this weird looking thing is the Grub, or just Grub. And very detailed. He seems to have a little insect squirter thing there. Very weird, but lots of character. Then we've got the humans, starting with Eric the Squire, who very enthusiastically is going into bat, carrying a lot of stuff on his back. The wonderfully named Baron von Fancy Hat. And isn't that a great figure? Look at that pose and just the whole style of it. And even he's got his little finger raised as though he's having a cup of tea. It is beautifully done. Just the amount of character in that pose and the detail of the sculpt. I'm very, very impressed with that miniature. With all of them, in fact, they're great. This is Flintlock. Again, just look at the character in that. He's just adjusting the eyesight before he takes the shot. Really impressive stuff. As I said, the multi-part miniatures, everything just fit perfectly into place. There was no adjustment required or filing down bits or anything. This one's Friar Flavius. Well, before I sign off on this unboxing of Moonstone, I've had a look at the rules now, and there's some really nice stuff in here. Firstly, I made some mistakes. These D4 dice are actually not used during the game to roll. They're actually the moonstones that all the characters are trying to find on the board. And the number on them corresponds to how deep the moonstone is in the earth. So when you do a harvest action to get a moonstone, if it's on level 4, it's really deep. And every time you do a harvest action, it goes up to 3 and then 2. When it gets to 1, the character can grab the moonstone. So a really nice sort of victory point kind of mechanic there. All the characters use these, see if I can get a shot of these. These are the energy tokens, which are on that sheet. They pop out and you take a cover off, so they're clear tokens. And all the characters do things by spending a certain amount of energy. And that allows them to do attacks and do all kinds of things. They've got arcane abilities, and the arcane abilities are controlled by this deck. And you can see in here there are 6 cards of each colour, and they're 1, 2 and 3 on it. So there's purple, blue and green. So when you go to do an arcane action, you draw a number of these cards, the opponent draws a number of cards, and then you play a card face down, and you can bluff. So you can say, oh, I've got a green 3 here for the amount of damage that I'm going to do by fireball or whatever. And the other person can call your bluff. They can say, yeah, okay, and then take it. Or they can say, no, that's a bluff. And if the person is bluffing, they're obviously in trouble. So really nice little bluff mechanic there. And if the person is caught out bluffing, the other person can do something like play a catastrophe to give a catastrophic effect to their arcane ability. The combat is also interesting. There's a combat deck that everyone uses. And this is a kind of scissors, paper, fist kind of thing. What do you call it? Scissors, paper, rock? Rock, paper, scissors. That's right. It's a rock, paper, scissors type of arrangement. So you can make a particular type of attack. The other person can make a particular type of attack. You draw a hand of these cards. And depending how they interact, you'll do damage to each other. So damage is simultaneous. If you have multiples of the cards, you can play them to do critical hits. So it's all card driven, really interesting. And another nice thing is that each character on the back of their little character card has a signature move. And this actually replaces one of the cards that you can play. So if you have play a high guard attack, if your signature move replaces the high guard, it gives it a bit more character because your player is particularly good at that move. So some very nice things happening here. I don't know how it plays. I haven't had a chance to get on the table yet. I want to paint the miniatures first. But that just shows you a little bit about Moonstone and all the different things that are happening in this game. I'm really glad I got a copy of it. And as I said, well, as you can see, the miniatures are just beautiful, really, really nice. And the card mechanics look really interesting too. So when I get a chance to play this, I'll tell you more about it. In the meantime, I hope you're intrigued by Moonstone. Check out their upcoming Kickstarter campaign if you are, and of course check out their website at moonstonethegame.com. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. It's Peter here, Universal Head from the Esoteric Order of Gamers, orderofgamers.com. Bye for now.